On to the next question. Each fortnight, Fiona also pays USC on her gross wage, and the rates are. They'll always give you the rates for USC, and we've got to calculate the USC. 1% on 462 euros. And remember what she's earning here. She's earning 1,550, and that's per fortnight. The next thing she earns is 3% on the next 214. So we're going to go 3% on 214. And then 5.5% on the balance. Now we've got to go work out the balance here. So she's been taxed on 462. She's been taxed 3% on 214. So in total, she's been taxed now on 676 euros. So she's been taxed on 462 and 214. So she's paid tax on 676 in total so far. So the 5% is on the remainder. So if she's making 1,550 per fortnight and she's already been taxed on 676, then that's going to leave you the remainder that you're looking for here. So what this is going to be is 5.5% on 874. That should be right. And then you've got to go work out these. So these are your calculations. So starting at the top, well, 1% on 462 is going to give you 4.62. On the next one, the 3%, that's going to give you 6.42. And then finally the last one, which is this one, which is generally the biggest. That one there is going to give you 48.07. So your total USC, you add up all these numbers. Total USC then is coming in at 59.11. So this is where the mistake occurs, just here in this one. Tax now on 676. You need to figure that out in order to figure out what the remainder is here on the left. Fiona pays PRSI amounting to 18 euros each fortnight. Find the sum of her fortnightly deductions. That's the first tax that she's got to pay is 18. We've just seen from the last question that her USC charge is 59.11. And from the start of the question, we can see her income tax, 234, is going to come in at 311.11. So all of those are added up. See, part 2 then says write the sum of her fortnightly deductions as a percentage of her gross wage and give your answer correct to one decimal place. Total deductions are 311.11. Her total salary is 1,550. So to find out her percentage of her gross wage, it's 311.11 over 1,550, and to turn it into a percentage, you multiply by 100. And when you do the maths on that, that's going to give you 20.1% when you round to one decimal place. 2016. Here's, and as local bank is offering two options, option 1 and option 2. So option 1, the interest rate is changing in option 1. So you can see here it's going from 2 to 3 to 5%. So something like this, you couldn't use your compound interest formula, because using a compound interest formula, the rate has to stay the same. Whereas here the rate is changing. So it's changing from 2 to 3 to 5%. Over here in option 2 though, this here is constant rate. So you could use your compound interest formula there for that. Part A says find the value of the investment at the end of 3 years if Paul chooses option 1. What you want to do is 8,000. Again, you can multiply by 2%. And that of course will get you a number of 160. And then you add that to your 8,000. Because again, remember, 160 is interest. You're getting that money off them for free. So that gives you a total of 8,160. So that is for year 1. Now, if we move on to year 2, at the start of year 2, we don't have 8,000 anymore. We have 8,160 because we made money in the previous year. And in year 2, we're going to make 3% interest. So we're going to multiply it by 3%. And so in this one, again, you work out your 3%. Oh. And again, you're going to add that on. What are you adding it on to? The number you started the year at, 8,160. So that's going to give you a value of 8,404.8. And then for year 3, you're starting year 3 with 8,404.8. And in this one, you're going to work out 5%. So 5% of this, again, when you work it on the calculator, .24. That's how much interest you made in the 3rd year. Again, at the start of the year, you had 8,404.80. So that gives you a total at the end of 8,825.04. So that's at the end of year 3. Again, look at the question and make sure you're answering the question. It says find the value of the investment. So at the end of year 3, you've made that. So the value of the investment is 8825.04. It doesn't ask you to work out what the total interest was. Again, you could find that if you wanted, which is very easy because you started off with 8,000. That was your first one. So that means your interest was actually 825.04. Just in case you need it later on, you can put that details in there. On to part 2, find the value of the investment at the end of 3 years if Paul chooses option 2. So again, option 2 is compound interest. So your compound interest formula, we did it earlier on, is A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the power of T. And then fill in your numbers. So A is going to be equal to, try and change this. So P, which is the principal, the amount you're investing, 8,000, 1 plus, and then your interest rate. So let's go up and find out what the interest rate was. 3.7%. So again, you have to be careful. 3.7% is equal to 3.7 divided by 100. And 3.7% divided by 100 is 0.037. So in here, this is going to be 0.037. All to the power of t, which is time. This is over 3 years. It says it there. And again, you work out that number. That's going to give you 8,921.26. So again, clearly, this amounts to much more. This is higher interest. Option 2 is definitely his best option. You have one issue other than the rate of interest earned that Paul might take into account when deciding between option 1 and option 2. Well, certainly option 1, again, it's looking for one issue, but option 1, he has the possibility of taking money out. So he can take money out before the end. That will affect the amount of interest he makes, but he can't take that out. Another option is he can choose the one with the most money, but that's generally the best option there. He can take the money out before the end. He gets less interest, but it's more flexible. So that finishes part C. Part D. Paul would like his investment of 8,000 to amount to 9,000 after 3 years. What annual rate of compound interest will be required for this to happen, and give your answer as a percentage. So again, if you're not too sure how to start with this, let's have a look. We're dealing with compound interest. So again, let's start off. We're dealing with A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the power of T. And let's see if we can fill in any numbers. Paul wants his investment of 8,000. So this here is your principal. He wants it to amount to 9,000, so he wants the amount to be 9,000, so this is A. He's got 3 years, so this is time. And then it says what annual rate, so what rate. So you don't know what I is. You have everything else. So let's fill in everything into the formula. A then is going to be 9,000. Your principal is 8,000. It's going to be 1 plus I, and then that's all to the power of t, which is 3. And we did something similar to this earlier on. First things first, we want to isolate the I on its own. That's what we need to find. So let's get the 8,000 out of here. So we have 8,000 multiplied by all of this stuff here. So let's get the 8,000 over. We move this across. And we end up with 9,000 divided by 8,000. And that equals 1 plus I all to the power of 3. How do we get rid of the power of 3? So again, it's like getting rid of a square. If you want to get rid of a square, so if you have something like x squared is equal to 25, how do you get rid of the square? You get the square root on the other side. So square root can also be written like that, the square root. We're going to do the same thing, except we're dealing with a cube. So in this example, it's going to be the cubed root of 9,000 divided by 8,000. That gets rid of the cube. And that's going to be left with 1 plus I. And then, how do we get rid of the 1 here? It's the cube root of 9,000 divided by 8,000. And then you bring the 1 across. And when you bring the 1 across, it becomes minus 1. And that equals I. The reason why it becomes minus 1 and not divide by 1 is there's no multiplication here. So that gives you I. You work this out on your calculator, this bit here, and that will give you I. When you work that out in your calculator, it should give you 0.04. So I is equal to 0.04. Now again, the question is saying it wants your answer as a percentage. This is not a percentage, this is a decimal. So we have to turn that into a percentage. So again, you just multiply by 100. So your interest rate then is equal to 4%. So all you're doing there is taking this, multiplying by 100 to make it into a percentage. So I is equal to 4%. Part E. Another bank offers to invest his 8,000 in a special fund, and the bank has found that in the short term the amount of money in this fund follows the formula. So we've got V is equal to 8,000 plus 36t minus 1.2t squared. So a couple of things you should realize there. This is a quadratic because it contains a square, a t, and a number. And it says V is the value of the fund. So normally what I like to do here is I like to write in what each of the things are. It says T is the time in months since the 8,000 invested. Find the value of the money in the fund. So if you want to find the value, you've got to find V. So V is equal to 8,000 plus 36t minus 1.2t squared. So in order to figure out V, this is a number, 8,000. This is not a number. So we've got a t here and we've got a t here. We've got to fill that in. Look at what we have here. We have 12 months. So we're going to go with 8,000 plus 36 times 12 minus 1.2 times 12 squared. You can tap it all into the calculator as long as you're very careful with it. Or you can do what I would do, which is multiply it out piece by piece. But just for the sake of speeding this up, V is going to be 8259.20. And again, that's after 12 months.